Nigel, this little short video is just for you. So I moved to this property in 2008. That's when we purchased this place. This white pine was not here. The one in front of the house that you see often in videos was here, but it was about not quite 6 feet tall-ish. It wasn't as tall as my husband, he's 6 foot. This one was not here, so this one has grown since then. I see there's two here now, and you can see the snow gets really high and the rabbits eat everything. They love these white pines. They eat them up like crazy. Let's see if I can get around here. So you can see up high, there's some nice smooth bark up there, and it's got that mottled gray look to it. And it starts to peel and get real patchy looking, and it starts to get this red patchy looking stuff here. And that's the precursor to your bark. So it'll start to get cracked like this, because we had some very wet years, so it was good growing. And you can see at the bottom that the bark is starting. So this is, I don't know if you can tell how big this tree is. Here's my foot beside it. Double trunk, but it has grown since 2008. It was not here when we bought the property, so if that gives you a little bit of hope, just look for this mottling here, where it turns red. I don't know if you could tell, it's indented, but it starts white, like it'll get white patches. Like this branch here, you can see these white patches. It does that first, and then it goes to this red. It peels and goes to this red, and then it turns to bark. Starts to crack and turns to bark. Hope that helps out, Nigel. Oh, I'm all tangled up in here. Maybe I'll bring you to the other patch. We have an older patch here too. I'll bring you to that. Here it is. This is the patch of the older white pines, and it's got jack pine around the outside. On the far side of this, there were some true old growth white pines, but the highway construction destroyed most of them, and I think only one of them is still alive. We'll go see those first, all the way through here. Let me see if I can, probably the best way to go in where the dog did. So these ones here are jack pines. On the outside, and you can see the white pines in the winter time, just before spring growth. They get, when the sap flows, they start to get soft, so the wind shapes them, and they get like, I don't know how to describe it, like bedhead, where they go all wispy like this. They do that every year, every spring, when after the sap flows. But the jack pines don't. Their needles are really firm, and ooh, buds are growing on them like crazy too. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Pollinating is happening too. I see all the pollen floating around. Here we are inside the grove. Now, all of these white pines in here were planted by humans. That's why I know how old they are. So all of these ones here are approximately 20 years old. Some are skinnier, some are fatter, but they're all approximately the same age. This big dead one, killed by the highway construction. And these are the two old growth trees that were here before this grove was planted, long before. Now, one is dead and one is trying to stay living. So this living one is, let's see if I can put my foot up here. It's quite wide. Like here it's got to be close to 4 feet wide ish. 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe a little more than 4 feet wide. So that tells you that. And it's got bark almost all the way to the top. Oh, it was the construction guys that broke these branches off and everything too. Like the branches on this old growth tree are the same thickness as those 20-year-old trees back there. So it's pretty neat. You can see all the veins in that one. Oh, I don't know if I can catch it on camera, but yeah, and the bark is nice and thick. But I don't know the age of these ones, but I'm expecting that they're quite old. And if we go back over here to these 20-year-old trees that were planted by people, so we know their age. Now that one's got quite a bit of bark. Whoa, I don't know what that was. This one here has bark at the bottom, and it's more pronounced than that last tree I showed you. And you can see the cracking gets less and less as you go up the tree. And it's got this red mottled stuff. And as you go up there, it turns to that more white mottled stuff and goes back to smooth. This one's really pronounced where the bark starts at the bottom. Yeah. Ow. Whipped myself in the face. Even in here, the snow is deep. And the pine needles are even deeper. That picnic table is all buried in pine needles under there. There's probably a good 6 or 7 inches of it. Pine needles. This one's got nice bark. These ones are fairly large. But again, all these trees... My foot. All these trees were planted at the same time, approximately 20 years, and the branches have no bark at all, and they're quite thin. Like these branches are quite thin down here. Once in a while you get one that gets larger toward the top. Pretty crazy. Look at that one. Now these ones here aren't quite growing fully natural because this was a gas station and kind of a hangout place. That's an outhouse there. And that place was dissolved before I moved to this area. So it was not used. But like I said, it was a hangout place. It was a little party area. So these trees aren't 100% natural, and you can see some of them. I don't know if you can see it, but let me see if I can zoom in. The bark is white higher up in the tree. There's a few of them in here like that, and it gets darker and it gets that white mottling to it, and as you go farther down it goes to that orange mottling. And then it starts to crack. Well, that looks like an axe mark, but then it starts to crack. And when it starts to crack, that's when you get your bark. Hope that helps you, Nigel. Give you some hope for your little white pine. Be safe out there.